Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 2 of this Lord's Test, and everything that was meant to happen happened. The rain stayed away. We got a whole day's play. India's middle order stumbled. England's top order stumbled. Rishabh Pant played some audacious shots. Anderson got wickets. Root scored runs. You think everything was going according to script, but was it really? Michael Vaughan joins us now, as usual, to give us his insights into this day's play at Lord's. 119 for 3, 245 behind. Michael, who's got a nose ahead? That's the way it is. KL Rahul out early, 129. Then Kohli 42 yesterday. Today, Jadeja 40, Rishabh Pant 37, Rory Burns 49, Joe Root still batting, and Anderson 5 for 62. I suspect, Michael, when you take your son to play a test match at Lord's, if he becomes that good, and hopefully he will, he'll say, I'm sharing a team with Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah, no surprises, really. I mean, England have had a decent day because at the start of the day, I don't think many really thought that India would lose 7 wickets for 88 runs, but because of Jimmy's expertise, his quality, I watched Jimmy closely, and he's 39 years of age. He's getting better. You know, he's so consistent. He goes either way. His pace is around 81, 82 miles an hour. And I always ask myself the question, why and how does he keep playing to such a level? And I honestly think it's because he's so good in the field. He loves fielding. You know, he's a brilliant fielder. Wherever they put him in the field, he's outstanding. And if you're not that outstanding fielder, cricket wears you down because it's long days and you get a bit bored with it. I think because he's so good in the field and so good and so consistent with the ball, his energy levels are always there. India did the game a favour by losing 7 wickets for 88. It got us all excited at the ground. I think the wonderful atmosphere of the Red for Roof Day, the Ruth Strauss Foundation, the whole of Lord's Red was a great kind of spectacle. But India did the game a favour. They lost a few wickets, but they're still miles ahead of the game, Harsha.
Just looking at you talked about Jimmy Anderson. You make a really excellent point about the fact that he loves fielding. I was talking many years ago to Ian Chappell, and I said, how do you know when it's time to go? He said, Richie told me you'll know. And he said, at 11:30 one day, I looked at the clock, and he said, I knew the time had come. At 11:30, I was looking at the clock, and Jimmy Anderson is... I also think there's something new happening to Anderson all the time. I mean, the scramble seam, the fact that he's still trying to develop the new ball, that he's still working on the reverse on reverse swing, it's fantastic. But I think in Jimmy Anderson's phenomenal success, there's a worrying factor for England, because even today, on a day England took wickets, you take Anderson out and you're starting to wonder what next. England's batting. England's batting. I mean, India's, I was going to say midfield because your season's about to start. India's middle order and your top order. Gee, there's a bit of a contest there.
Well, you're looking at, I'll ask you a question. India's 3, 4 or 5, or England's 1, 2 and 3. I mean, because you've got Virat Kohli at 4, it's quite easy. You go for India's 3, 4 and 5. But I tell you what, over the last year or so, they're not far off in terms of numbers and stats.
I mean, you look at the numbers, even Virat, by his own standards, is going through a dip that's now lasted about 11, 12 test matches. So, I mean, you put Kohli in that list. Look at that average over test matches in 2021. This 10 innings, he's 27, Pujara's 27, Rahane is 19. You go back till start of 2020, Rahane starts to get a little better. But yes, I mean, when they walked out to bat, Pujara yesterday, Rahane today, because you like them as people, you really wanted them to do well, but they are struggling. But what about Sibley? What about Hasib Hamid? I mean, you've got to feel for Hasib Hamid, that huge story. And he's got this huge high, goes through a dip. Miss a straight ball, did he? I mean, the stats will tell you it swung in a little bit, it swung out a little bit, but really missed a straight ball.
No, I mean, I'll be upfront and honest. I think Hamid should be opening the batting. It's where he bats, you know, and having that one down and having to wait to bat. You know, some people don't like that. You know, it just kind of mucks around with your mind. If you're an opening batter, you get out there and you're facing the new ball. Sibley, he's ceiling in terms of where he can go. I think he's reached. You know, we know what Dom Sibley's going to do. You pack that leg side now. You know, you make it very difficult for him to score a run. So, I made it very clear last week what I would do with the England batting lineup. I'd push Hamid to the top of the order. My concern with Hamid today was he took guard 3 times, Harsha. So it took a long time for him to face that first ball. He doesn't do that in county cricket. He doesn't take guard 3 times. In county cricket, he doesn't miss that straight ball. So something up here didn't work for him today, even though he had to wait, and that's not a natural thing for him to do. I hope he's going away and talking to 1 or 2 in the group, and particularly the experienced players in the team. It's still 22 yards. It's still a red ball coming at you. And it's the surroundings, it's the crowd, it's the media, it's us. We're talking about him. That is the difference between county cricket and the highest level. It just becomes more. It becomes bigger than what it really is. And yes, it's big, but it's still a red ball coming at you. That's all it is. And it's still 22 yards. And that ball today is a ball in county cricket. That does not get him out. It really doesn't. So I want to know from looking in, why was he taking guard 3 times? Why did that ball get you out? Was there something not quite right in his concentration? Was he thinking it too big, too big an occasion? And these young players, it's hard. It's been 5 years that he's been in the side, so clearly he's going to be nervous, and there's going to be a few anxiety problems in there. But I'd like to ask a young player, what were you thinking? Because I clearly can see that he can play. It's a problem for England, Harsha. I thought India bowled quite nicely. I'll be honest with you. I thought they bowled pretty well. I think when India, in particular Shami, have got the ball in hand and Bumrah and the ball in that full of length, I think they'll get something out of this service. And I love Siraj. The crowd here at Lord's loves Siraj. He's got that energy and buzz. It's great to watch him
and he bowls and he bowls long spells. I was just a little concerned at the fact that Kohli kept going to Ishant, who looked as people go to the races say, a little short of a gallop. And I thought he probably under-bowled Siraj a little bit. I've got a thought on Haseeb Hamid, then I'll come back to Siraj and Shami. I've seen a few young players come to the IPL and they see 40, 50,000 people. They see all the sound, they see all the corporate boxes, and they freeze. And I've heard it said about great players, and I've seen it in my career on live television, that you desperately want to own the moment, but you've got to pretend it's just another day. You've got to pretend, I've done it before. And that's why I think sometimes the devil may care fellows, the Sehwags, the punts, I think that's why sometimes they're just better. Because I'm good, man. It's just another day. And I think Haseeb Hamid went there saying, I want it. And I think, I don't know if it's happened to you. It's happened to me on live television on a day when I've desperately wanted to make an impact. It's been one of my worst days. So I don't know if that happens to sports people. And I think that's what it was, 23 for 2. I think you've seen a bit of Sibley now. Burns, in his eccentric style, Rory Burns got runs too. He looks such a better player off his pads, Michael. Everybody does, but he does too.
He's having a good summer. He didn't get too many runs at Nottingham, but, he got a century against New Zealand. He got a nice 81 in the second test match. So he's in good form. He'll be disappointed because I thought if Burns and Joe Root arrived tomorrow, England would feel that they've had a really, real high-class second day. That Shami wicket to get rid of Rory Burns, that's a big blow for England because Burns is in form. He can get 100. He got 100 against New Zealand on this venue. So that was a killer blow, really, at the end of the day's play. I just look at this pitch, and I think the low balls are going to come into the game. We've seen quite a few balls keep a little bit low. And I think India will challenge the stumps. They'll bowl that length and they'll try and scoot it onto the pads, keeping a little bit low. So that's going to be the real challenge for the batters over the next 3 days, is that low nature of the odd ball just scooting along the deck, particularly from the pavilion end. As a right-hander coming down the slope. I'll pretty much guarantee that there's going to be a few LBWs from that pavilion end because of that ball coming back down the slope and keeping a little bit low.
Now, I'm going to ask you one thing since you're captain. Now, you've got someone who's played 100 test matches, but he's looking a little rusty. Do you go tomorrow morning and say, right, that's fine. He's been a good player for India, Ishant Sharma, but I want to own the game quickly. I'm using him as a fourth seamer. Would you think like that as a captain? Have a quiet word with him saying, we'll bring you into the game, but at the moment you're number 4?
Well, I'm an old school kind of captain in a way that I learned a great deal from listening to Steve Waugh. Quite clearly what India do tomorrow, they start with the best 2 bowlers that were today. The best 2 bowlers, you have to say Siraj and Shami were the best 2 bowlers today. That's who I'd start with tomorrow morning. I'd just offer the chance for those 2. They've done it today. Go and do it first half an hour. They get rid of Joe Root inside half an hour tomorrow morning. this England batting lineup will be opened up. If Joe Root survives the first hour, we know that he'll probably get 3 figures. And once again, it comes down to the England captain. There's only so many times he can go to that well of runs for the team. They're asking him to go to that well of runs once again. And, you know, from an England perspective, I hope it works. I hope it goes and gets that big century. But in the first half an hour of any innings, we saw Rahul today, 127 not out inside 2 balls. He's gone. The next morning, you have to start again. So India had that 30 minutes to get rid of Joe Root. You've got to start with your best 2 bowlers. From
okay, Michael, I'm putting you in the hot spot. You briefly referred to 3, 4, 5 and 1, 2, 3. I'm putting you in the hot spot. Do England have it in them? 245 behind. Every time England are in trouble, they're saying, Mr. Root, can you take us out of this? Do England have it in them to have someone other than Root take England to 364?
No.
Listen, I know you're not paid by the word, but that was a very expensive one-word answer.
No, it's Joe Root. Joe Root. If Joe Root gets a century, they'll get somewhere near. If Joe Root doesn't get a century, I think India will have a very good lead, if not a substantial lead. Butler, maybe he's the guy that could. Moeen will have a cameo. I have no question. I'm sure he will. But no, it comes down to Joe Root.
I mean, we've known in India over the years. When I was a kid, it was Gavaskar, then it was Tendulkar, but then Tendulkar started to have Sehwag, Dravid, and the others around him. But you just look at it. I mean, I saw Root come in at 23 for 2. Straight away, Root gets out 30 for 3. You're looking at 150 all out, maybe. And there's Burns with his eccentricities, but eccentricities that work for him. And the game changed. The game changed, much like the game changed in Nottingham. When Root comes in, he's not letting a bad ball get away. He's driving through the off, he's driving through the on, aided a little bit, since I used the word eccentricities, aided a little bit by some, let's say, unusual DRS decisions. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Go on. I have to say on it.
They make me laugh. Honestly, I look at both teams, and I look at the batting departments of both teams. India have got better players. I look at the bowling department across the board. India have got a better bowling attack. So far, I've looked at the fielding of both teams. India have fielded better than the England side. The one thing that I reckon England are miles better at, reviews. So if the series is decided upon who's got the better kind of smartness in reviews, England are going to win this series absolutely.
I'll put it differently.
Virat, Rishabh.
Okay, go on.
I cry with laughter when I see them all going together, because you just know it's a little bit like the governments around the world at the minute. They don't seem to be getting it right, and you need change. They need change in their parliament to make decisions on the reviews. It's not working. They need to bring in others. They need to bring in a little bit more experience or know-how, because that combination of Siraj, Pant, and Virat.
I mean, it was 2 and 2, and Virat's face. I've heard it said of people like Mark Taylor, of people like others, of MS Dhoni, that you didn't know what was going on in their minds. With Virat, you know exactly. I got the feeling today, actually, that Rishabh was saying no. I mean, and Virat turned to him as soon as he said yes, and I thought Rishabh said to him, "Oh, why have you taken it?" And he said, "But why didn't you let me know before?" So I don't know who's there. For Siraj, everything is out. So Virat's just got to find a way. I wonder if he's thinking, okay, I need to encourage my bowler. Or is he actually thinking, look, maybe there's something there. If I can get Root, let me take it. I get the feeling if that was Burns, he may not have taken 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, no question. Look, being serious for just a split second on the view.
I've never heard someone, Michael. Sorry to interrupt. I've never heard someone say, "I'm being serious." No, you were laughing.
Well, I am, because they get it all wrong. But I'm saving all my reviews if I'm the Indian captain on Joe Root. So I get that you gamble on Joe Root. I completely get that. But when you've gambled 1 over and then you do it the same, same kind of dismissal the following over, you kind of go, no, not quite right. No, it's comedy gold, I have to say. India's reviews, comedy gold.
24 wrong out of 27. The best part of that is it can only get better. It can only get better. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to laugh at it, and you've heard it said before. We used to laugh and call it the Dhoni review system because Dhoni just seemed to have an instinct for what was right, what was wrong. And I think Rishabh will get that. I think they've just got to trust Rishabh a little bit more. So it provided a little bit of comic relief. I don't think India wanted to be seen that way. And yeah, they've got one left. Okay, on to day 3. Fast forward. We've actually looked at tomorrow a little bit already. You said you'd go with Siraj and Shami, have Bumrah in reserve. Is there something there, Michael? We saw just a little bit of Jadeja. Is there any indication at all that there might be a little bit more for the slow bowlers?
Yeah, maybe not tomorrow. He'll hold an end and he'll do a good job for the team, and he might force the batter into an error and a shot that they don't really want to play. But I think in the second innings, Jadeja is going to be massive for India. You know, those footholds will grow. The forecast is good. It's going to be dry. And over the course of 5 days, generally at Lord's, spin does play an element of a part, and it's generally in the second innings. So it may not be tomorrow. He'll do a job if he's required, but I think in the second innings he's going to be quite a key for India.
And in that England change room, we talked about the India change room, and you want your best bowlers, you want that breakthrough early. You want a little bit like what happened this morning. I mean, I know it was a newer ball. This ball's 45 overs old, but suddenly there's a wicket from KL Rahul, a wicket born out of confidence. And suddenly Rahane is gone. India want one in the first 4 or 5 overs, don't they?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the amount of runs that were scored today. There was only 207 runs scored today. 10 wickets fell. And sometimes it gets like that at Lord's, where the run rate and the scoring rate comes down a little bit. You just look at that run rate there, 1.7 in the afternoon. So India just restricted England. Threes, 2.69 in the first session. So you're looking at runs left in the game. There'll probably be 230, 240 scored tomorrow. So if England bat the whole day, and they'll have to do very well to bat the whole day against this Indian side, they'll only be just near the Indian first innings total. So that opening session is going to be key. If India win the first session tomorrow, I think they'll go on and win the game quite convincingly.
That's my view as well, because I think India's tail once again just showed its frailties. India have gone in with 4 bowlers and said we don't care how many runs they will make. India's last 3 only made 31. And I mean, Jadeja held on in that partnership of 26, which also had its moments, because Jadeja's definition of a single is very different from Ishant Sharma's. So, but they still put on 26. But India will want a sizable first innings lead to then build it up and set in England a reasonable target in the 4th innings. But at the moment, I think we're agreed that India are ahead, but that route will determine whether England come back into this game, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer to be in the Indian dressing room quite convincingly. Runs on the board, many of them, and quite a fragile England batting lineup. So India.
We'll wait and see. There's only one review, so we'll laugh a little less. I'll be back with Michael for Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 3. 10 wickets fell today. We'll wait and see. If we get another 10 tomorrow, we've got a definite result. In either case, I think we've got a result. It's just a question of when. So we'll join you at the end of day 3 with Michael Vaughan.